こんにちは。Ialc 学校紹介動画をご覧いただき誠にありがとうございます。Ialc 日本マーケット担当のバーンめぐみと申します。Ialc は日本名を世界語学学校協会といって、世界20カ国にある独立経営及び私立の語学学校の品質を厳しく審査し、認定している非営利団体です。現在では20カ国から10の言語を教える約140の語学学校が認定を受けています。本日はアメリカの首都ワシントン DC にあるIalc認定の語学学校インターナショナルセンター for Language Studies のプレゼンテーションを担当者のアダムさんに英語で行っていただきます。ICLS の特徴を簡単にご説明させていただきますと、まず、ワシントンエリアで唯一高い語学指導サービスと、保証する、CEA 認定を持つ語学学校であること。1966年の創立以来、英語を含む約85の言語を学べる学校で、場所柄政府関連の方やワシントン DC で働く方が通う学校でもあること。そのため、アメリカ人の学生と交流できるチャンスもあります。また、集中英語プログラムは1クラス12名以下の少人数制ですので、講師の目が行き届く環境で英語をどんどん伸ばすことができることなどがあります。それではこれから ICLS についてアダムさんに詳しくご紹介をいただきます。アダムさん、ご準備がよろしければプレゼンテーションをお願いいたします。
Konnichiwa. Hi, everyone. My name is Adam McConnell at the International Center for Language Studies. And today I am going to tell you about our school. Great. So I am the director of English at the International Center for Language Studies. We are located in Washington, D.C., which is on the East Coast of the United States, and it is the capital city of the United States. As you can see here in this picture, we do have cherry blossoms, and we're very proud of those cherry blossoms. That is something we always look forward to. All right, so I thought I would start out by giving you a little information about our program, some basic information to give you a sense of who we are and what kind of school we are. So we are located in Washington, D.C., and I will say that we are in central Washington, D.C. We are in downtown Washington, D.C. We are very close to the White House, many museums, and we have very easy transportation options to our school. We do offer, so we have housing partners that we work with. We have a few companies that we do refer people to, so there are housing options. If you have a student that is coming to our school and they need housing, please let us know and we will give you the information on how to contact the company to set up the housing. We are a long-standing school. We were founded in 1966. We are a singular school. We are not a chain of schools. So we are just one center in Washington, D.C. We do offer programs that support students studying on an F1 visa. And we also have programs that support students studying on a tourist visa. We offer a variety of business English classes. We very often work with business people in the local community, and those business English classes can be in person at our center or they can be online. They can also take the form of a group program or customized program as well. We are not just an English center, but we actually teach 85 languages at our center. So we are quite an international school. And that's a real benefit for students because they can meet other American students, maybe learning their language, or also teachers teaching a variety of languages. So it's a really good opportunity for a student in the States to really get an immersion experience, but also to meet a lot of different cultures. And I think students really appreciate that opportunity. We do offer field trips, and Washington, D.C. is an amazing destination for students. So I think that is one of our big pluses here. And I will tell you a little bit more in a minute about all the wonderful things that we have to do in Washington, D.C. Before any student begins a program, we do entry testing to make sure that they are placed in an appropriate level. And if they're taking a customized program, we do testing to make sure that the teacher is prepared. So this is a really important component for our program. That includes an electronic grammar test, a written test, and also a speaking test with a tester. We accept students 17 years old and older. I would say that most of our students would be in their 20s and 30s. And we also have students that study at our school that are older as well. So if you have a student maybe in their 50s, 60s, 70s, we certainly can welcome a variety of different students into our program. But we are primarily an adult program. Occasionally, for some short-term summer programs, we can make an exception and allow students just a little bit younger. If you have a student younger than 17 and you want to check with us, you can check with us to see if we can make an exception for that student. However, any student would have to be mature and behave in an adult-like manner. So we are an accredited institution. We are accredited by CEA, and CEA is one of the main bodies in the United States that gives accreditation to schools like ours. We are also very proud to be members of Ialc, and we are also members of English USA. So it's very important for us to be involved and connected to the language school community, and we really want to promote the field and be as connected as possible and be leaders in the field. So just telling you a little bit about the location of Washington, D.C., which is where we are located. So Washington, D.C. is on the East Coast of the United States. Some of the cities that are in the vicinity of Washington include Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York, and a little bit further on, Boston as well. Going toward the south, we have Richmond, we have Raleigh. So there are a number of cities that are could be maybe a long weekend trip, and there's definitely good transportation. There are good transportation connections between Washington, D.C. and many of the East Coast cities like New York and Philadelphia. So it is possible for students to maybe do a long weekend trip to some of those destinations, and very often students do. But Washington, D.C. is a very convenient location. Washington, D.C. is also very well connected to other regions and other cities. We have several airports locally, a couple of international airports as well. So getting to and from Washington is pretty straightforward, as well as getting out of Washington and visiting other cities in the United States, which students sometimes like to do. So there may be a student who might want to go to Miami for a few days, or go to Chicago for a few days. Washington is a very well-connected city in terms of air travel. All right, so I want to tell you a little bit about touristic things to do in Washington, D.C. Of course, Washington is the capital city of the United States, so the government is located here. We have the U.S. Capitol, we have the White House, of course, but we also have many monuments, historical buildings, we have many parks and museums. So there's really a lot to do in Washington, D.C. for an international student. I have here a list of many of the tourist things people might do in Washington. People do like to visit the White House, go to the zoo, go to the National Mall where they can see monuments or just hang out. It's a great location to hang out. visiting many of the museums locally. So there's really a tremendous amount to do. I'm going to take a minute and show you a video of some of the things that students might do in Washington, D.C., some of the tourist activities that we do in Washington, D.C. Transition to that. You can see me in many of those videos there, but as you can see, Washington, D.C. is a fun city. It's more than just government. There's a lot to do, and I think it's an ideal destination for international visitors and tourists. Students may sometimes wonder, well, Washington is just a city of government. If I'm not interested in government, why would I really want to spend much time in Washington? Actually, Washington has a lot more than government here. We're actually a big business hub in the United States. Amazon is moving one of its East Coast headquarters to Washington, D.C. We're also the location, the headquarters of the World Bank and the IMF. There are many companies that have a footprint in Washington, D.C. We have the Volkswagen Group of America, we have Boeing. So there are a lot of organizations here, a lot of companies. So if an individual is interested in business or making connections in business, Washington can be a very interesting location to spend some time. So individuals who are interested may have academic pursuits or are interested just in personal learning. Again, I think Washington is an ideal destination for an international student. We have a variety of universities and colleges located here, some very top universities like Georgetown University, American University, Howard University, and many more. There are lots of very top universities here, as well as many state universities too, maybe not located in Washington, D.C., but in the close vicinity, like the University of Maryland or George Mason University. So it's a really great opportunity for an individual to check out some of the local universities here while they're studying at ICLS before they might decide to apply. For those who maybe are not interested in an academic path, but are interested in learning and have a desire to continue learning, we have tons of museums in Washington. We have the Smithsonian Institution museums, which, by the way, I will note the admission is free to many of those museums. Some examples of just a few include the African American Museum, the Air and Space Museum, the American History Museum, the National Zoo, the Natural History Museum, the American Art Museum, and there are many, many more museums in Washington, D.C. And I always encourage students to try to take advantage of that opportunity. The great thing about Washington is that because the museums are for many of them at no cost, the great benefit of that is that because we're very centrally located, it's easy for students to get down there by metro or maybe a walk on a nice day, and they can, if they want to, they can go to the museum maybe every day. That's something that if you're paying admission in another, at another university, or you're paying an entry fee, that can get really expensive quickly. And we have had students that, on a daily or every few day basis, they will go down to a museum and visit a different museum. There are lots of different opportunities for that. So speaking of transportation, in Washington, D.C., we have a couple of international airports as well as a large domestic airport. We have a metro system, and I think that for international visitors, this is critical. From my experience with international students, many of them do not have a car or do not feel comfortable driving in the United States, and so it's important to have an extensive public transportation network where they can get around to different locations in the city and in the region. With our metro system, as well as an extensive bus system in Washington, D.C., we have that covered. And you can see here, I have a picture of some of our students in our metro system. So this is actually what our metro system looks like. It's a very architecturally unique and interesting metro system, and students often appreciate the uniqueness of that. But that is something that, because of our metro system and our extensive bus system, I think that makes it a real advantage for international students. So Washington is not just a place for museums or to study, it's also a place to have some outdoor adventures. You can see here a picture of the National Mall. This is one of our students. Sometimes we take students down to the National Mall for a soccer game, or maybe a picnic, and it's just a great destination to get out in nature and really enjoy a beautiful day, surrounded by a lot of really beautiful architecture. Sometimes we do activities like ice skating. This was a really fun activity we did a few months ago. So definitely students appreciate the opportunity to get out and do some activities. As well, we have a very large natural park that runs right through the city called Rock Creek Park. It's very beautiful. When you're in the park, you can very easily forget you're anywhere near a city because it feels like you're just in the forest. And it's right here through the middle of the city. So we have taken students to that park. Another similar park is Teddy Roosevelt Island, which is all very wooded as well. And you can also get on that island and really feel like you're out in the forest. So in Washington, you don't just have to feel like you're in a city all the time. If you like spending time outdoors, it's a great destination for outdoors. For those who are willing to be even a little more adventurous and to maybe rent a car or go outside Washington and the local region, we have a lot of very beautiful mountains. We have the Shenandoah that is very world famous and absolutely beautiful, hiking trails. And so all of that, it may not be accessible by transport locally, but it's definitely very famous. Could be something students could access and take advantage of on a day trip with a car. So that is another outdoor adventure possibility, as well as the beach. We're not super close to the beach, but we do have the beach within a few hours drive. So that is an option for some students that might want to travel outside the area a little bit. So talking about our program offerings at ICLS, I just want to start out by breaking them down into two groups. The first group would be group classes. For those programs, you would be taking class in a group setting. For all our group classes, we have a maximum of 12 students. And we have a specific curriculum that teachers are expected to follow. We have general English group classes, and we also have English for Professionals group classes, which I'll get into in a little more detail in a minute. We can also do customized training. Customized training can take the form of a private course, a semi-private course, or group classes. This could be a really good option for corporate training if, and we've done this before, where a company will contact us and ask us to set up corporate training for a group of executives or a group of team members. And then we will go through a process of level testing and needs analysis with the students and with the organization in most cases to determine the best way forward and to set recommendations and objectives for that course. Those courses can be arranged online or in person, so it's very flexible with that. So to talk about our probably our most important or our biggest program is our intensive English program, which runs from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. We offer up to 11 levels ranging from within the Icsl scale, a novice or beginner low, so a very low beginner to advanced high. So there are some levels above that as well, but we go to what's called the advanced high level, which is, I believe, quite, after completing 11 levels or 11 months, that's quite a significant journey. And classes are fully in person. With rare exception, classes take place in person at our center in Washington, D.C. Class sizes are usually on the smaller side, usually around 6 to 7 students, although we do have a maximum of 12 students in our program. And of course, smaller classes can lead to more attention by the teachers for an individual student. So that's really a big plus there. Included with the intensive English program is a weekly conversation club and a weekly field trip that are both optional, but can both be a really great way to continue practicing English and also learn a little bit about the city in terms of the field trip. This is a program that does support the F1 visa. So I wanted to get into a little bit of the process for getting an I-20 from ICLS. I feel like it's a pretty straightforward process, but I do think it's important to outline some of the steps for agents. And if you wind up working with us as an agent, then this is something that, of course, we can have a training with you individually or with your team members to help explain. But we do have an application for admission. We have a registration fee that would be paid at that point. The student would have to complete testing, but also at a simultaneous point, they could also submit the scans of their passport. They need to show financial documentation, usually in the form of bank statements and a completed sponsorship form. Once we have all the completed documentation and it's approved by the DSO, then the student would receive the acceptance letter and the I-20. At that point, they could make the embassy interview and move forward with that phase of the process. And then once that's complete, the student would pay the invoice for the first month's tuition. Of course, I just want to note every situation is unique, and so there can be some additional steps or things may go out of order in that process, but that is a typical process for students coming into the program. We feel like we have some excellent documentation that can help guide individuals, and we also have a form that where most of the I-20 steps are located, and then agents or students can just go through point by point and upload documents and check that they've completed those steps. So we try to make that as easy as we can, and of course we have a staff member on site who can help guide the agent and the students through that process. So I want to talk a little bit about Vacation English. And Vacation English is a variant of the Intensive English program. This is a part-time non-certificate option for tourists in Washington, D.C. This program does not support the F1 visa, but if an individual is primarily a tourist in the United States and they would like to take some part-time classes on the side, this is a good option for them. Classes take place Monday to Thursday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. In person generally. We do place students in the same class as students in the intensive English program. So the students are grouped together. It's the same type of curriculum, but it's a bit like auditing the class. You're getting the practice, but there's no testing in that. Students are able to participate in the weekly conversation club and the weekly field trip. And of course, I did include some more activities here that you can see. We go every now and then to a baseball game. We've got here an art installation that we took some students to, and of course, paddle boating in the tidal basin. That's always an exciting, fun example. And then we do have a picture in a classroom with a group of students, and this can kind of give you a sense of how our classrooms are set up. For the most part, they're set up with chairs in a kind of horseshoe pattern. Another pattern that we've got in a few classrooms would be tables. One thing I will note is that all of our classes do have an internet connection and a computer screen that the teacher can use to connect to internet and for class activities. Okay, good. And I did want to include here this QR code with the scan directly to our curriculum. So if you want to find out more information about each of the levels of our program and what they mean, this is something that you can scan, and then you'll go straight to the document where you can see that information very clearly. I also wanted to include a QR code directly to our housing page. So as I said, we can refer students to some companies that provide various types of housing. Just Like Home is one company that we refer students to that's been a housing partner for many years. And they have a variety of housing options to suit different needs for different students, and they have different price points. If you scan our QR code, you can see a breakdown of some of the different packages that they have. But sometimes I know students can also have maybe some customized needs as well, that they can communicate directly with the homestay company. So this is one option. We also have Forstay, another company that we work with. They offer a variety of different housing options in terms of typically apartments or group housing options, so that if an individual does not want to stay in a more homestay environment, Forstay can be a really good option for maybe something more individual or private. I did want to talk about diversity. So this is a graph of students from last year that participated in our intensive English and vacation English programs. I will say last year was a little bit of a strange year because we were still a bit more in the pandemic. So I think that, that may be affecting the types of students we get more. But as you can see, we do have students from across the globe. Asia is an area that we'd like to grow, and we feel like there's a lot of opportunity there. So we are definitely excited at the possibility of working with Japanese agents. At the same time, as you can see, we aren't dominated by students from any one region or any one language. We do have students from a variety of different countries, and we find that students prefer to be in diverse classes. I think one of the benefits of coming to the United States to learn English is that you do have an opportunity to be exposed to some diversity there. So I did want to talk about a few of our group classes for professionals. These are offered in the afternoons, Washington, D.C. time, and they can be in a hybrid format. So it is possible for individuals who want to participate online to participate as well as in person. The teacher will be in person for these classes. But we have 3 different courses to complete the English for Professionals program. We have the English Pronunciation for Global Professionals course, which is a focus on pronunciation skills to meet real-world professional needs, like giving presentations or networking or talking to your boss. We also have the Gateway to Business Success course, presentations and networking, and then another component, meetings, negotiations, and phone and email correspondence. Each of these courses is a 4-week course, and they coincide with our intensive English program. So that could also be an interesting add-on for students that might take the intensive English program from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then in the afternoons, they're interested in taking in business English option. Of course, it is subject to enrollment minimums, but that is a very interesting course that we feel will appeal to a lot of students. We can also do customized programs. We have private options. We can do semi-private instruction as well. So if you have 2 students who want to study together, that can make things a little bit cheaper per student. And for corporate training, we can also arrange group training as well. I will say with private instruction, one potential add-on, if a student is taking the intensive English program from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and they wanted to add on some private courses, for example, in the afternoon, that can be a good option as well. We can offer any of these options in person or online, and there are various schedules available. So please contact us for more information about the specific options available for that. I did want to give you a QR code here for our flyer, which details all of our different program offerings and the current prices for those. So please check that out. That is our 2023 flyer. And you should also be able to see some program descriptions there, as well as some information, for example, on how to go forward with the I-20 and apply. I have here a few testimonials. We definitely have had some students that have really enjoyed our program and I think have really benefited a lot. And we have had students that will complete the program, starting out from our very lowest level and continuing on to our highest level. And it's just amazing for us to see an individual who goes through the whole program and we can see the progress over time. I do have a QR code here to a video to hear a Khan's story, but I'm also going to play that now.
Hi, I'm Rakan Al-Afnan. I'm from Saudi Arabia. I was a student at Icsl from 2010 until 2011. And now I go to UDC, University of District of Columbia, and I'm studying business management. I came here with no English at all, so I was scared to be in the school with people who speak the language. I felt the love from the staff, from the teacher, so I was excited every day to go to school because I know that there are people who are going to look for after me. I want to describe my classmates, that's going to be something interesting because I had people from like different backgrounds, different cultures, different religions, and it was always interesting to be in the classroom because you see different attitude, different behaviors. It was always positive, there was no negative. I loved all of them and I still keep in touch with most of them that I know I have in Facebook or email. Or this is one of the things that I like about my experience here is that I feel like I have a house in most of the countries now around the world, because if I go to anywhere, Spain, Italy, Belgium, France, China, anywhere, like I can just make a call or send a message like I'm gonna be in this country at this time and someone will be there. What I like about living in Washington DC is the international atmosphere. So in the city you find people from almost everywhere. I love this thing because I like to learn about new cultures, new religions, you meet people from different backgrounds teaching you something new. I just love this and I'm so happy and lucky that I chose Washington DC. Oh yeah, we had a lot of different field trips and most of them were like museums. I went to these trips to practice my English, to make friends. So field trips were the perfect time to meet those people and become friends and practice your English. So when I was in ICLS, I almost knew everyone here, even if they didn't work with the department I was in. Joked with them, talked to them. It was always nice to go to a place knowing that you're gonna laugh, you're gonna joke, you're gonna talk to people who care about you. So I would describe ICLS as amazing, wonderful, and great.
Hey, great. And Rakan was the student that I taught, and he completed our program all the way from the very lowest level to the highest level. So he was another one that was amazing to see that progression. Okay, so now I'd like to tell you a little bit about how to work as an agent with ICLS. I do have a QR code here you can scan, and that will take you directly to our agent information form. And that would be the first step to working with us, is to fill out the agent information form. As an accredited institution, we are required to gather some basic information about your agency. So if you're ready to start working with us, you can scan this, and it'll take you straight to the form with some questions. Normally, the process after you complete that form is you have a meeting with me and the coordinator, usually via Zoom, although we do welcome agents to come to our center if they would like. And then we would sign the ICLS agent agreement. We also do a reference check for agencies, so please be prepared to submit some kind of letter of reference or recommendation for us. Yes. And this is our contact information here. So if you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call, give us an email. We're happy to schedule a Zoom session with you as well if you just have some questions and want to find out more about us, or if there's anything you want to know more about, we're happy to chat with you. Also, I'd encourage you to visit our Instagram page, ICLS_DC, and you can see the latest photos and videos of activities going on in our school, not only for English, but for foreign language courses as well. So we really invite you to take advantage of that. It's really nice meeting you. And thank you for participating in this presentation. I hope it's been informative, and I hope it's given you some information that you can use about our school and our city. And I hope to meet you soon.
はい、アダムさん、プレゼンテーションありがとうございました。ご視聴いただいている皆様には ICLS にご興味を寄せていただけるきっかけになりましたら幸いです。ご質問がございましたら、ぜひお気軽にアダムさん、またはイアルクにお問い合わせいただければと思います。本日は学校紹介動画をご視聴いただき、誠にありがとうございました。Thanks so much, Adam. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you, Megumi. Bye.